bum 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 bum. 20 bucks. 20 bucks. They're on the line for 20 bucks. They keep on playing. Hi, Jabor from Montreal. Hope everything's well with you. Hi, I'm Maggie, Mrs. Calabash. Come into my kitchen. We're doing something a little bit different today. We're going to make a sweet potato and peanut bisque. It is actually a South African recipe. And I'm going to do flaky mushroom and Gruyere puffs. Now, if you don't have the Gruyere cheese in, you can use a strong cheddar cheese. So, to make the puffs, you need half a packet of a 17-ounce packet of ready rolled puff pastry. I've had this defrosting. It takes about an hour to defrost at room temperature. You don't want it too defrosted because then you can't handle it. So I've got it out, just lightly floured my board. I've got that there. So we want to cook the mushrooms. So let's go back to the stove and cook the mushrooms. So come back over with me. That's the sweet potato recipe. Now, for the mushrooms, I've got just a little olive oil in here, and there we are. Just making sure that it's nice and warm first, and some chopped onions. There we are, they're frizzling nicely. You can use a shallot, but I hadn't got a shallot in today, but I'd got some very tiny yellow onions. So I just used half of one of those and cut it up very, very finely. You don't want to go out and buy a shallot just for this if you're not going to use any more shallots. And mushrooms, which are sliced. Let's just put those in there like that. You can use any sort of mushroom. If there's a choice, I prefer to use a selection of different types of mushroom. White mushrooms, button mushrooms, all sorts. And then you've got the different flavours. Now, mushrooms don't take long to cook, so we're going to just leave those on there like that for a minute whilst we go back and see to the pastry. Now, I've got the oven on at 425, a preheated oven, and I just lined the baking sheet with some parchment paper. Let's just turn those down for a minute and go back to the stove. Actually, they're cooked. They're cooked. And we've got a glass of white wine here. If you don't, and we're going to cook that until it's almost evaporated. It just adds a nice flavour. If you don't want to use wine, you could use some apple juice, and that it would make it a little bit sweet, but it will add the same sort of flavour. If I was living in Mayenne, where I used to live, the Mayenne County, Provence department, I'll get it right in a minute, in France, I would be using cider, because they grew cider there, or the apples for the cider. Oh, it was magnificent. And you used to go around tasting, you used to go around to the cider farms to taste. And it wasn't just a little bit of, a little glass like that. No, it was a goblet full, and you tasted all these different ciders. Oh yeah, by the time you'd finished. Anyway, let's turn that down, a little less talking. Turn that down. I want that to almost evaporate. So we don't want to turn it too low. I've got to bring this with me because I keep forgetting what I'm doing with this one. So we're going to just fork the pastry over like this, and we're going to cut this into 4 and hopefully try and get fairly even. But anybody who knows me knows that that's almost an impossible task for me. You see, they're quite large squares, so you could actually cut those in half again. But we're going to eat them with the soup. So we want something substantial to go with the soup instead of just using bread rolls or dumplings. And these make a good appetizer, actually. And they are actually served with a salad. So it's reasonable, you can have a reasonable meal with one of these, with some salad. A nice summer, the days of summer, when we can eat outside. The sun's shining, beating down, and we go and eat out on the patio. Memories. We'll get there soon. We will get there soon. The gazebo's ready. It's just that nothing else is. So right, look, we've pricked those. The wine should almost be cooked. Now I divided the cheese into half just to make it a little bit easier. I want to leave about ½ an inch round the edge, and I'm going to season the mushrooms in a minute just to see, whoops, because the cheese will melt. Oh, if I didn't divide it, I'd find that I'd put it all on and then think, oh, I needed some more for the top. So it's called old age. There we are. Or having too much on your mind at the same time. There we are. That's done. Back to the stove. The mushrooms, the wine has evaporated. I want to taste for flavour. You could add a little garlic in with that, actually. It needs some seasoning. So that's my Mrs. Calabash seasoning. Remember, 3 salt, 1 pepper. It's very handy to keep it on the side there. That's better, much better. Let's put this over here. Can you see what I'm doing? No, you can't. Let's move everything.
Yeah, I can see.
You can see?
Yeah, but it's better in the middle, though.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get organised, folks. Oh, bring this forward like this, and then we're not dribbling all over the place. Fingers are clean, they've just been washed. So we want to put some mushrooms on the top like that. Oh, this is lovely. The favourite starter when I had the restaurant in France, I used to do my version of garlic mushrooms. And I used to have people come out, I don't know what was different between mine and the French version of garlic mushrooms, but I used to have people coming out from Paris. We were about 2 hours out of Paris, and there was a lot of gîtes, which are cottages in the area, and a lot of film and television people rented them out for weeks and brought the clients down for the weekend. And I was lucky. These were a lot of my clients. And they came for something that was a little bit different. And we'd got a 3-foot fireplace and logs. And you could stand in the fireplace and look up and see the sky. I mean, it was really good for ventilation, not much good for anything else, but it gave an ambiance. And even in the middle of summer, because it got very warm, they'd come and say, "Can we put some logs on the fire?" Oh, they loved putting the logs on the fire. And it was Maggie May's English restaurant. So we're going to put those in the oven, and we want them to get golden brown, the cheese, the crust cut, 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on the oven. They should be just about cooked. Now, let's just clear this mess, and then we make the sweet potato bisque. Now, for this, obviously sweet potatoes, and I don't know about you, but I hate peeling sweet potatoes. So we had 2 potatoes. It was roughly 2 potatoes, and just prick them all over. I just stabbed them with a knife, put them in the microwave, and they took between 7 and 10 minutes. It was nearer 10 minutes for it to be cooked. And then they're cooked, and then you just peel them. It is so easy. It's so much easier than trying to peel a sweet potato. So let's go back to the stove and start the sweet potato bisque. So come back over with me. Bisque is another word for soup. I've got some oil in here. I've tried to put everything out. This is canola oil in here, and I just want to, feel it. Now you can see I've got the sweet potato cut into bite-sized pieces. This is cool. I did that yesterday so that it would be ready, but the recipe said put half the potato in and blend the other half. I prefer, this is entirely up to you, but I prefer to have a smooth bisque. I don't want bits of sweet potato. I don't want clumps in there. So I'm going to use my immersion blender and just blend it all together. It's just beginning to heat up, and actually I've got the onion and the garlic in here together. I don't normally do that because the garlic can burn, but today it won't hurt. We'll keep an eye on it. So let's just cook this. Now there's you can do complete vegetarian with this and use a vegetable stock, or you can use, as I'm doing today, a chicken stock. And if you're using a vegetable stock, don't throw your vegetable pairings away. Use that as part of your stock, because that's where a lot of the goodness actually is in the skin of the vegetables. So collect your vegetable pairings, but refrigerate it or freeze it, because it doesn't keep. It's not a stock that will keep forever. So what I do is, if I've got a lot of vegetables that I've been preparing, I keep the pairings, boil them, put some herbs in with them, then I've got some stock. If I don't need the stock, I cook them up and make dog food. My dogs love vegetables. Now, we've got the onions, they're nicely cooked. There's a surprise ingredient in this, and that's tomato juice. So add the tomato juice, and we've got some jalapeno peppers, very finely chopped. They've been frozen. They were what Derek grew in the garden this summer. So that's nice. Homegrown jalapenos. Ginger. Don't forget, this is South African, so it's nice and spicy. I love South African food. There we are. And what else? We've got a little allspice, ground allspice in there. Now we're going to bring that up to the boil and just let it cook for a few minutes. I've got a fairly large pan today because the wider the bottom, the quicker it's going to come up to boil. We want it to cook in time. So let's put this lid on. And I'm using a cast iron pan so that I can use the immersion blender on it, and it's not going to damage it. So let's go back to the butcher block, and we'll make the salad to go with the puffs. Let's just have a quick look. Oh yep, they're puffing up. They just got a brown now. So, oh, greens. Can you hear the hounds of the Baskervilles? They're upstairs. They've got the television on. They've got a bed. It's nice and warm. But I think there's a dog out over the back somewhere, and they can hear it. And once one of them starts, it's bedlam. So I've got just some mixed greens here. And let me make sure I'm doing it correctly. Some green onions, roughly three green onions. You know, sometimes the green onions are nice and big, and sometimes they're so thin that you can hardly see it. So, you know, common sense. And to mix oh, we need that for the soup. To mix the dressing, I've got a little olive oil, some white wine in there, with that, and some Dijon mustard. Let's just mix those together. I'm going to add a little oil to that. So you don't need a lot of dressing. It's not as though it's soaked in dressing. And just mix together. We want to form an emulsion. Like that. Actually, I think I'm going to add a drop more oil to that. So I'm going back to the back of the room. Very, very carefully, dribble, dribble, dribble. It hardly looks as though there's any going in, but it's just going to make that difference. It's like making, it's rather like making a mayonnaise. You see how it's thickening? Look at the difference. It's like a Dijon mayonnaise. The secret is the oil going in dribs by dribs. There we are. Now, let me just have a taste of that. It might I'm going to just put a little seasoning in, so I need to go back. I could do with 2 of these jars. It's always in the wrong place. Put that over the... I wouldn't add the dressing until you're ready to eat, because it can make the greens go a little bit limp. I've got some baby spinach in here. Derek's going in for an operation between 3 to 6 months. So it's a very serious operation. So you'll notice when I'm making food, I'm concentrating on building up his bones and his protein. So poor guy, he's got 3 months of me sort of saying, you can't eat that. Let's do this. So he's eating, whether he likes it or not, he'll be eating spinach, chickpeas, anything that will build up his resistance. So he's got 3 months of that. So at the end of it, he'll be saying, "Please take me in." So come back. Let's. This is boiling. The cheese has melted, but they just need to brown for a little bit. I'm going to put the temperature up on the oven. My oven is it's very slow. There we are. I've just turned the timer off. Oh no, there we are. Now this is cooked. Put that in. Ooh, the smells. Turn that down. Ooh, lovely. And I'm going to put the stock in there now. I've got, as I say, I've got chicken stock. Turn it up because I want that to heat. I want it to heat quite rapidly. Oh. The sweet potato. Oh, it's got back up to temperature. And this is smooth peanut butter. And this, because we've been diabetic, I use just the natural peanut butter. And especially in a soup like this, because the other peanut butter's got sugar in it, the tomato juice has got sugar in, and obviously with the sweet potato, there's a certain amount of sweetness. So I don't want any more added sweetness. There we are. I'm running out of space in my sink. There we are. A little taste, and then we can have another taste when we've pureed. That peanut butter is gorgeous. I'm going to go back to the butcher block because I need my seasoning. If I put it on the butcher block. Nope, there we are. I want to put this in before I emulsify. It's going to make a noise, so bear with me. This won't be as smooth as if you put it in a blender, so it does have a little bit of texture to it. You can feel the sweet potato giving away from underneath you. One more. There we are. I found a lump. Hang on a minute. There we are. I love my immersion blender. I get very lazy actually using the food processor or a blender because these things are so easy to wash up. So you can see it's made a much thicker soup. It looked as though the soup was quite thin, but it's added a lot of texture. It will, if you make it the day before, it will thicken, so you might have to just let it down with a little stock on the day of. That is lovely. So let's move that over there. It really is. Ooh, I've taken it away. I've got to put a pad on. I must confess, I love my cast iron, but they do get a little bit heavy, so I tend to grunt and groan. Oh, there we are. There we are. And I've got a little cilantro, chopped cilantro. I'm going to add to that. I need, this will do. I'm going to stir the cilantro in. You can garnish with some Greek yogurt. Put some Greek yogurt on the top. That's rather nice. Extra calcium. Remember, you've got to build up the bones. Now wait for the grunts and the groans. Oh! There we are. Let's remove that off the table. Whew, it is hot. Oh, they're heavy even when they're empty, but I love them. The soup, that, fingers crossed that the puffs are ready. Whew, let's have a look. Yes, perfection. Switch off the oven. Put these on the plate and everything is ready to serve. Bucks. Derek's Nan's plate, a line for 20 bucks. Look at that. Plain, nobody's paying. No buns, some nickels and some dimes. Boom, ba-dum, boom, boom, boom. 20 bucks. Hi guys, I hope you liked it. Please go to Mrs. Calabash Cooks